My name is Joseph Bunton, although I go by Joe. Yeah, I sell board games, tabletop games. Um, we have RPGs, card games. I work at a game shop called The Soldiery Games and Cards, which is located in Columbus. It's on North High Street up in the Clintonville area. I've been working there for probably about a year and a half now. I really enjoy it. I get to work with stuff that I enjoy and find pleasure in every day that I go in, whether it be the board games or the trading card games or the role playing games. I've played them all and I enjoy them all. So it's really fun to just work with it firsthand, recommend it to customers, and then deal with other people that are just as passionate about this stuff as I am. I'd say a board game is. I see board games as a branch of tabletop games, which are just games played on a tabletop. And then a board game would be a big umbrella term for a lot of games that are played on a board as the space that everything takes place on. Although the term kind of just encompasses a lot of boxed games. I feel like they endure. Board games, I've played them since I was a small child. My parents before me played board games since they were a small child. Um, Tabletop games, you can look at card games. They've been around for hundreds, thousands of years, and they continue to exist and persist. Um, in the face of like video games right now are a big craze, and it's overtaking a lot of the different fun industries. So many people are wondering if board games or tabletop games in general are going to stick around. But I would argue that they're super important, um, because they've existed this long, and the community behind them is still thriving and it's adapting. Um, and I'd say they have an advantage over video games because they're not so easily outdated. If you look at Monopoly, that's been around for probably around a century, maybe a little less. It started 1900s and it's still going. But if you look at older video games, no one's playing them except for people that are just diehard fans of classics, and there's so many of them that just get swept under the rug after the next generation comes out. I think there's two different communities. The family groups, you could define pretty much anyone like that. It's just the normal family. I'd say board games, at least for me, they were a big part of my childhood. We would sit down, we'd have a board game night. My parents, my siblings, and I would all play, or if we had friends over, we'd play those. And it's like a party game. But then there are groups that are more into board games, where they'll like dedicate a night every week to it, and it's different because the games are a lot more complex and more engaging, and they have to commit a lot more time and effort to it, and it's less about just having some laughs. It's more about just the whole complex experience behind it. Battleships. I played Yu-Gi-Oh when I was really young. Another trading card game called Force of Will, and I enjoyed that. The Pokemon trading card game. Santorini, Trap Wars, Red Dragon Inn. I just picked up Root, and I've really been enjoying this one, although I've only played it 2 or 3 times. Dungeons and Dragons is a classic for sure that's persisted for many, many years. I have a lot of memories playing this in middle school and high school with my friends. So calling one thing my favorite is just really hard. I have a lot of cherished memories from, or that I just have a blast playing all the time. But picking just one's really hard. One thing about most board games and tabletop games as a whole is that they involve multiple people. Compared to a lot of video games, while there's a large emphasis on multiplayer right now, many of the video games, the AAA titles that I see, are single player games with just campaigns, and they're more like stories almost. So I'd call them a mix between a book and an actual game, if that makes sense. So I think there's definitely a place for board games as uh, like a team builder, um, a community builder, making friends, and just having a good time with people, while a lot of video games one can enjoy on their own.